Apple just wrapped up their March event and wow, it was a good one. So today we got ourselves a new video on the spring event. So let's see what happened. So as the tradition goes on, we got new colors halfway through the iPhone cycle, but the new colors that we have are for the Pro, the Alpine Green, and then for the regular 13 line, just a green. These are amazing colors, and I kind of don't like how Apple releases these colors midway through, but it makes sense. It freshens up the line and gives people more options. So we got ourselves the iPhone SE 3, which is the same design and has the same colors as the previous iPhone SE Gen 2, but this year has the new A13 Bionic that's found on the iPhone 13 line, and as well 5G, which is pretty cool. Now it's not an exciting phone, but it's a phone that a lot of people look forward to because of the price point and the feature that it shares with the 13 lineup. It has a 12 megapixel camera that has Smart HDR4, photographic styles, and deep fusion. It also comes in colors like red, black, and white. It starts at $429 USD, and again, not the most exciting phone, but it's usually directed towards the people who like the 6, 7, or 8 kind of design, or just wants a simple phone at a good price. I tweeted about the iPhone SE Gen 2 that came out in 2020, and I tweeted about how good of a value it was at the time, and the Gen 3 is no different. Now, iPad Air Gen 5. Now it's not a big upgrade from last year, but it does house the M1 chip that's found on almost every Mac and iPad Pro. Apple compared the M1 chip to the A14 Bionic chip that was found on the iPad Air of last generation. And I found it was really funny because the M1 is a very fast computer chip. And in all honesty, you don't really need a fast computer chip in an iPad. Although it's great and there's certain apps that take advantage of it, it's overkill. But it's good to see that M1 is in like every single iPad and computer as well. With this year's model, it now has 5G support, which the iPad Pro had last year. It's good if you like to take your iPad on the go and you like to have cellular data, you have 5G support now. The front-facing camera has been updated to a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, which means that it now has center stage. If you don't know what center stage is, it's an amazing feature that pan and follows the subject through movement and voice. It's a really cool feature as it makes your shots more dynamic and your video calls more dynamic. So it seems like someone is following you or you're moving the camera in a cool way, whereas it's just the sensor just slightly moving side to side and following you as you're recording. For this iPad, that's really it. It's almost the same as last gen's iPad, but those two major features. Is it worth upgrading? I don't think so, but if you're coming from an older iPad Air, definitely get it. It has two storage models, the 64 gig version and a 256 version, and it also starts at $599. Now we move on to the Mac, and in particular the M1 Ultra, the Mac Studio, and the Studio Display. So the big chip that got announced, M1 Ultra, and this chip is incredible. It's two M1 Max chips built and combined into one. Now, when the M1 Max got announced, we knew that this was a behemoth of a chip and it's more powerful than anything. But to combine two M1 chips, especially M1 Max chips, into one M1 Ultra, that's insane. Take this in. The M1 Ultra has a 20-core CPU with 16 performance cores and 4 high-efficiency cores. And it also has a 64-core GPU, which is insane. It also has up to 128 gigs of unified RAM, which I don't know who would need that, but there's the option. And Apple also presented a stat that it is 8 times faster than the M1 chip, which is incredible. Now this chip is really for the ultra consumers and anyone that has a pro workload. This is definitely supposed to replace the Mac Pro currently, the Intel-based Mac Pro. It has a behemoth of a chip and what it can do is incredible. Now to the M1 Studio, and this is definitely a product that I was most excited for as I'm a big fan of the M1 Mac Mini and I use that as my daily driver. And to see something that's bigger and better like the Mac Studio. It's just amazing. It has a similar design language to the Mac Mini, but looks more like a Mac Pro hybrid. The Mac Studio can either house the M1 Max or the M1 Ultra, which is amazing. And it comes in a small little box that is super powerful and powerful than almost anything on the market. For ports on the back, it has Thunderbolt 4, an Ethernet port that supports 10 gigabit, 2 USB-A ports, 1 HDMI port, and also a Pro Audio headphone jack that has support for high fidelity sound. The front I/O includes 2 USB-C ports and 1 SD card reader. Now, if you get the M1 Max variant, it will only have 2 regular USB-C that supports 10 gigabit bandwidth. Or if you get the M1 Ultra variant, it will have 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. But now the thing is, which one do you choose? Do you choose the M1 Max, which is already more powerful than most computers on the market? Or do you choose the M1 Ultra, which is basically double and super overkill that will handle any task no problem? Both these chips are incredibly powerful and can beat any computer in the market. And Apple really outdid themselves, and I feel like they undercut themselves because they were comparing the Mac Studio to the Mac Pro that they released a while back, a computer that no one can buy at a consumer level, which is insane. In the keynote, the Apple rep said that the M1 Max chip is 50% faster than a few of the Mac Pro models, which is insane because some of them cost anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. If that's the M1 Max chip being 50% faster than most models, imagine the M1 Ultra and how fast that could be. The Mac Studio with the M1 Max starts at $2,000 USD, and the Mac Studio with the M1 Ultra starts at $4,000 USD. For the average consumer, the M1 Max variant is not a bad pickup. Still expensive, of course, but comparing to other high-end desktop PCs, it will destroy the competition. It will handle any task it's given. And for the M1 Ultra, of course, definitely overkill, but for the value that Apple was offering the Mac Pro, it's definitely a value pickup. And you know it will be able to handle anything you throw at it. Now the Studio display, which is a 27-inch Pro Display XDR-like display that has a A13 Bionic chip with an amazing camera that has center stage support and amazing speakers that has Dolby Atmos and spatial audio support. It's all aluminum with a 5K P3 display that's plenty bright and has good contrast. And it also has True Tone. It has 3 USB-C ports that support 10 gigabit bandwidth and has 1 USB 4 which is Thunderbolt 4. The Studio display starts at $15.99 USD and also has options for different stands at an additional price. But I don't know about you guys, but for the average consumer, I think this is definitely a better deal than the Pro Display XDR that's offered at $6,000. Obviously not the same, but for the value, it's not bad. And that's been the spring event. Not a big event, but definitely had its surprises. If you're watching the video at the time of it being uploaded, you can order everything today, but it'll be available March 18th. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's not my average upload schedule / day, but Apple events are always fun to watch, and I figured that I'll cover it for you guys. But if you enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Check my Twitter out where I discuss most of these things. And yeah, till next time, peace, bye.